Yes, da tenker jeg rett og slett at vi bare setter i gang, og da tenker jeg at jeg kan starte med å så ønske dere hjertelig velkommen til dette webinaret, hvor vi skal se litt grann nærmere på det eksotiske stedet og universitetet Hawai'i Pacific University. Med oss på laget i dag så har vi med oss en som jobber med opptak på HPU, Miaela, som etter hvert skal få lov til å gi dere litt mer innføring om hvordan det faktisk er å studere på HPU. Jeg tenkte at jeg først raskt skulle gi dere en liten introduksjon til hvordan det er og hva rollen til sonor er da. Så får dere litt introduksjon om hva vi er først. Yes, så det var noen eksempler på hvordan det er å studere i USA generelt, men vi skal som sagt se mer på hvordan det er å studere på Hawai'i Pacific University. I dag så skal vi se litt på hva sonor skal gjøre, eller hva sonor kan gjøre for dere som søkere først. Så blir det en presentasjon av HPU, og så blir det en Q&A etterpå. Så kan jeg starte da, som sagt. Hva er sonor? Jo, sonor er litt grann som Tinder, men i stedet for at vi matcher folk romantisk, så matcher vi de da akademisk med andre universitet da. Så du får kanskje ikke en romantisk partner sånn direkte gjennom Study Outside Norway, men vi skal hjelpe dere med å finne en akademisk match i hvert fall. Men med et lite sånn asterisk også på at man faktisk også kan finne kjærligheten i utlandet. Har jeg blant annet personlig opplevd, og jeg skal vise dere et eksempel etterpå. I tillegg til å hjelpe dere da med å finne ut hvor dere skal studere, så er det også sånn at vi hjelper de studentene vi veileder, i den forstand at vi da hjelper dere med søknadsarbeidet, og så sørger vi også for at dere har så gode som mulig lånevilkår og støtteordninger som mulig i blant annet lånekassa, og at de rettighetene som dere har som utenlandsstudenter også blir ivaretatt. Og på den måten så kan man også da si at sonor er litt grann som LO eller en arbeidstakerorganisasjon. Så ja, kanskje ikke akkurat det mest matematisk korrekte formelen dere har sett, så jeg vil ikke skrive ned den her i matteboka nødvendigvis, men på en eller annen finurlig måte så vil jeg si at sonor er det beste fra både Tinder og arbeidstakerorganisasjonene. To områder som kanskje ikke egentlig utgangspunktet har så mye til felles, men jeg synes at den sammenligningen er ganske god for hva vi i sonor gjør. Så som sagt, vi prøver da å bli litt kjent med dere, og bruke litt tid på å bli kjent med dere, for å sørge for at dere faktisk får den veiledningen som dere trenger. Og da, hvis vi også får brukt litt tid på å bli kjent med dere, gjennom da veiledning over telefon, eller e-post, eller kanskje til og med på Zoom eller Teams, så er det, eller også hvis dere kommer på et av kontorene våre i Trondheim eller Oslo, så har vi da mye større sjanse for å kunne hjelpe dere med å finne ut hvor dere vil studere, og sørge for at dere havner på det universitetet som passer dere best mulig. Og så er det sånn at vi selvfølgelig kvalitetssikrer søknadene deres. Vi har også fremforhandlet avtaler med universitetene som gjør det enklere for dere å søke og sånne type ting. Og så svarer vi også på spørsmål om lånekassa, visum hvis dere trenger det, språktesting, reise, studieforberedelser, registrering av fag, og så setter vi dere også i kontakt med andre som skal til det samme universitetet som dere skal studere på. Så for eksempel hvis det er en gjeng av dere som har tenkt oss å starte på HPU neste høst, så setter vi dere da i kontakt med andre som også skal studere der. Og best av alt, det at all den veiledningen og hjelpen som dere får fra Sonor, den helt gratis og uforpliktende. Så dere får ikke noe regning fra oss på noe som helst tidspunkt. Og når dere tar kontakt med oss, så det den gjengen her dere kommer i kontakt med. Det vi som Team Sonor, og vi da alle sammen tidligere utenlandsstudenter som vet hvordan det å studere i utlandet. Vi har kjent det selv på kroppen, og den erfaringen og det som vi har, det kan dere nyte godt av da. Så det godt å vite. Når det kommer til hvor man kan studere, så det sånn at Sonor har rundt 60 samarbeidsuniversitet fordelt på disse landene, og rundt 5.500 forskjellige studieprogram som vi kan hjelpe dere med å søke på. Til sammenligning så har dere rundt 25 institusjoner for høyere utdanning i Norge gjennom samordnet opptak som dere kan søke på, og rundt 1300 studieprogram. Så det finnes bokstavelig talt en verden av muligheter utenfor kongerikets grenser. Og tenkte også kjapt bare ta seg se litt på hvorfor man skal studere i utlandet. Og her det, det like mange grunner som det utenlandsstudenter. Men det ikke tvil om at den investeringen det også å studere i utlandet, den betaler seg. Både i form av at man vokser på det personlig, men også faktisk liksom, man kan se på det i kroner og øre og den kompetansen man sitter igjen med. Og det et forskningssenter som heter NIFU, som forsker på hvordan høyere utdanning, de forsker på høyere utdanning, rett og slett. Og de har da sammenlignet de som har studert i Norge med de som har studert i utlandet. Og i den studien så konkluderte de da med at de som har studert i utlandet kommer raskere ut i jobb etter endt utdanning. Utenlandsstudentene føler mer mestring på jobb, det vil si at den utdanningen de har tatt faktisk gjør de i stand til å løse de oppgavene som møter dem i arbeidslivet. Det en høyere andel som har lederstillinger etter 5 og 10 år i arbeidslivet. De har samme eller høyere lønn, det vil si da hvis man studerer samfunnsvitenskapelige fag, så man veldig lite forskjell på hva man faktisk tjener etter endt utdanning, men innenfor alle andre fagkretser så man at de som har studert i utlandet faktisk tjener mer. Flere studiemuligheter har vi allerede snakket litt om. Det også sånn at den forskningsrapporten som jeg har snakket om, konkluderte med at utenlandsstudentene var mer fornøyd med utdanningen sin. Flere hadde også da internasjonale karrierer, naturlig nok, bedre språk og bedre kulturforståelse. Også ganske naturlig følge av å ha studert i utlandet. Og så det også sånn at Lånekassa gjør studier i utlandet tilgjengelig for alle. Så du trenger ikke ha en rik onkel i USA for å studere i USA for eksempel. Lånekassa din venn, og vi skal ta oss og se litt mer på akkurat hva dere får i støtte fra Lånekassa om litt. Men det som jeg tenker kanskje en av de viktigste grunnene til at mange velger å studere i utlandet, det de opplevelsene og vennene man får mens man studerer i utlandet da. Og det kan jeg kanskje best eksemplifisere med det bildet her sånn. Hun i hvit kjole foran der sånn, det hun jeg giftet meg med for cirka 3 år siden. Og dette alle nasjonalitetene som var representert i bryllupet vårt. Og det synes jeg både eksemplifiserer det internasjonale nettverket man får av studert i utlandet. Så selv om vi begge to studerte i utlandet, så var det ikke sånn at vi bare ble kjent med vi begge to studerte i Storbritannia, så var det ikke sånn at vi bare ble kjent med briter. Vi ble kjent med folk fra hele verden, og kan dra nytte av det både i en profesjonell sammenheng, altså i de yrkene som vi har, men også når vi for eksempel skal på ferie eller sånn type ting. At vi på en måte har vi har noen å treffe i de fleste verdenshjørner da. Så det en av de tingene som jeg personlig synes var veldig kult ved å ha studert i utlandet. Så litt bare kort om Lånekassa før vi beveger oss til dagens hovedrett, som HPU. Men det her liksom kort forklart da, det dere får i studiestøtte fra Lånekassa, det dere har å rutte med. Akkurat disse summene her, de går jo litt opp for hvert år, fordi Lånekassa justerer litt opp for hvert år hva man faktisk får utbetalt. Men de som startet i høst fikk de summene som står på skjermen nå. Og bare for å forklare det raskt, det at basisstøtten, det det som tenkt, da skal dekke husleie, strøm, mat, vann, pils, kinobilletter og alt annet sånn dagligdags man trenger som utenlandsstudent. Og det blir da utbetalt som 75 000 lån og ca. 50 000 i stipend. Så lånet må man selvfølgelig da betale tilbake når man har ferdig studert. Skolepengestøtten litt mer komplisert, men enkelt forklart så får dere utbetalt det skolen koster, og så blir 35 000 av det dere betaler i skolepenger gjort om til stipend. I tillegg så får dere da reisestøtte til Nord-Amerika, og for eksempel da HPU, så det sånn da at reisestøtten ca. 19-20 000 kroner, og den blir da utbetalt som 65% lån og 35% stipend. Så bare for å summere opp raskt, av Lånekassen så får dere 3 sekker med penger, basisstøtte, skolepengestøtte og reisestøtte. Og det fine med HPU, det at det hvordan skal man si det? Det litt billigere å bo der enn det i veldig mange andre amerikanske storbyer, som gjør at dere kommer veldig langt på basisstøtten dere får fra Lånekassa, og at det ikke behov for å tjene veldig masse ekstra da. Så det greit også å vite. Og det var det jeg hadde tenkt til å si. Mihaela, I'll let you take over the rates. I'll stop sharing my screen so you can log on, and thank you for joining us today and for presenting the fabulous and exotic Hawai'i Pacific University.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tom. Aloha, everyone, and welcome. I hope you can all hear me well. I'm just checking. It's all good. The sound, wonderful, amazing, amazing. All right, welcome everyone. My name is Mihaela, and in the next 20 to 30 minutes, I'll give you a very short presentation as what you could expect if you choose to study at Hawai'i Pacific University. So you could come for either 1 semester or 2 semesters as a visiting student, or you could also pursue your full bachelor's or master's degree. But I'll tell you more about it in the next few slides. So let's start. Oh, if you have any questions, I guess Tom already told you, you could use the chat box, and at the very end of the presentation, I'll be able to answer those. So let's start. All right, so where is Hawaii? I'm pretty sure you've heard of Hawaii before, but I'm not sure if many of you know where it's located. So Hawaii is actually a group of volcanic islands right in the center of the Pacific Ocean. I normally, when I fly, usually take a flight directly to San Francisco or LA, somewhere in California, which is about 12 hours, and then another 5-hour flight from there to Hawaii. Hawai'i Pacific University is located on the island of Oahu. So as you could see here, it's not just one island, it's actually a chain of islands. And they stretch about 2,000 kilometers from east to west. So a lot of students who come to do either a semester or full degree like to explore the other islands in the area. My favorite is definitely Kauai or Maui, but the rest are also great to visit if you have the time and money to. But as you might know, Hawaii is such a tropical place. The climate here is just phenomenal. The beauty of the nature, it's untouched and unheard of, and the geographical diversity of the island. Not just for the population, but also it offers a very rich history. As you see in the next couple of videos, the one we just saw was from the traditional hula dance. And something else that is very traditional for Hawaii is also surfing. Yes, surfing is Hawaii's the birthplace of surfing, so it's definitely a must-do when you're there. There's a lot of things that you could do. The temperature ranges between 20 to 30 degrees Celsius all year round, so it feels like summer the whole time. So you could go for a hike, as you could see in this video. You could go for a surf, as we said, snorkel, or you could just relax on any of Oahu's 125 different beaches. Yes, you heard me right. Even though it's just one island, there's so many different places that you could go and explore and learn more about the Hawaiian culture, traditions. But the best thing about it is that you get the best of both worlds. As you'll see in this video, even though Hawaii is a natural paradise, it also has that, it has the capital city, Honolulu. And that's where Hawai'i Pacific University is located. The main campus is right in the city center of Honolulu. So more about Honolulu. As we said, this is the capital. It's also the financial and business district of Hawaii. It's a truly international city. Sorry, I think I'm losing my voice. It's a truly international city. You have people from all over the world, and you could see that not only in the classroom, but also once you walk around the city and the island of Oahu. On average, 8 to 9 million people will visit Hawaii each year. So it's also a very popular touristic destination. Of course, that was a pre-COVID time. Apologies, I had a cold last week. Of course, as I was saying, that was pre-COVID time. Right now, the tourism is a little bit quiet, but a lot of people from continental US, of course, are back on the island. Otherwise, the city itself is relatively small. There are about 400,000 people who live on Honolulu, but where the campus is located in the city center, it's always very busy, especially on weekdays. And as we said, the average temperatures are about 25 to 27 degrees Celsius. And last but not least, is one of the happiest and routinely one of the safest cities in the United States of America. And how not to, right, when you live in paradise? But more about HPU's campuses. On this slide, you could see the 3 main campuses that are comprised. They're the main campuses of HPU. As an international student, really depending on whether you're doing a full degree or just a semester, that would mean where your classes will be based. But most international students have majority of their classes in the downtown campus. In the next slide, I'll walk you through the main campuses and some of the facilities that HPU offers. But there's also the Hawaii Loa campus, which is set at the foothill of the Kuala Mountains. Such a serenity, such a beautiful green campus. That's actually where Jurassic Park, the mountain that you see in the back, that's where Jurassic Park was filmed. So it's a really cool area. And I really love going to that campus. And last but not least, there's the Oceanic Institute, which is the research center for marine biology and oceanography programs of HPU. So if you choose to do one of those 2 programs, you definitely will have some of your lab courses, for example, there. More about the island itself. I do like this picture because it really gives you an idea of where things are located. So we're about 20 minutes drive from the airport. That's where the main campus is in the downtown area, and another 20 minutes drive to Waikiki. I reckon you might have heard of Waikiki before. It's a popular destination, and that's also where about 99% of international students live. But the island itself is relatively small. One of the student fees that you pay to Hawai'i Pacific University is for a student pass, for the bus pass. And with that bus pass, you could use the public transportation as many times as you need to throughout the semester. And it's easy to get around with the bus. I normally take the bus or take a car to go up to the North Shore. If you drive, for example, there is a highway that goes around the mountain range and then back to downtown Honolulu, and that literally takes about 2 hours. So even on weekdays or weekends, you could go and explore the island. So very easy to get around compared to other places around the world. But yeah, as I said, majority of students will be living down in this area. And this is where all the fuzz and buzz is. And that's where you have the big skyscrapers, a lot of traffic, so a very typical American feel. But once you get out and you go, for example, in Kailua or North Shore, so peaceful, so quiet, that's real, the real paradise, in my opinion. But let me give you a very quick virtual tour of the downtown area. As we said, that's where most of the students will be studying. And as you could see, it's comprised of 3 main buildings: the Aloha Tower Marketplace, the Pioneer Plaza, and the Waterfront Plaza. So Aloha Tower Marketplace, or ATM in short, don't get confused with an ATM. On the first floor of ATM, that's where you find all the different student facilities, from the fitness center to the on-campus clinic. That's also where the dining center, the learning commons are located, as well as yes, the dining centers. So they serve fresh and local food every day of the week. Even if you don't live on campus, you could also dine there. And on the second and third floor of the Aloha Tower Marketplace, you find the on-campus housing. You as an international student, you're very welcome to live on campus, but I'll tell you more about the housing options in the next few slides. I'd like to pause for a minute and draw your attention to this picture over here. HP is one of the few institutions around the world that can say they have outdoor classrooms. Absolutely stunning, overseeing the Pacific Ocean. It can be a bit distracting, I must say, but really a beautiful view from there. So that was the ATM, the central hub of HBU's community. The second campus is the Pioneer Plaza, which is home to the College of Business and Professional Studies, which is roughly about 5 to 7 minute walk. So very easy to get around. You don't have to use the bus or public transportation. And then the third and last anchor is another 7 to 10 minute walk. And that's where you find the Waterfront Plaza, which is home to the College of Liberal Arts and Health and Society. On that campus, you also find the HBU's library, the Student Services Center, the Career Development Center, and also the Office of International Students and Scholars. Another pause here, the Kaka'ako neighborhood. Any of you who are maybe already applying or maybe are coming for the spring semester, Kaka'ako is a very popular neighborhood for students who also want to live off campus. Sorry about that. And then we have the Hawaii Loa campus. That's about 20-minute drive. There is a free shuttle bus actually that goes between the campuses. That campus is more about the labs, and there's also another housing up there. And last but not least, the Oceanic Institute that borders the Pacific Ocean, right next to my favorite hike, the Makapu Point. So that was a very, very brief overview. Please do get in touch with our colleagues from Sonar. I'm sure they'll provide you with more videos and more information about the campuses. But more about Hawai'i Pacific University. It is actually the largest private nonprofit university in the state of Hawaii, and it's also one of the most culturally diverse private institutions in the United States. You could expect to be in a class with students from all over the world. And the good thing about it is even if you come for a semester, you'll be studying together with students who are doing their full degree. Don't be surprised if you hear Norwegian on campus. There are hundreds of Norwegian students who start each year. And there is even the ANSA. I hope I don't pronounce it wrong, but there is one of our Norwegian students who is the representative of ANSA for the state of Hawaii. So I know that they organize some events and get-togethers. So if you ever feel homesick and you want to be close to other Norwegian students, that's also possible there. But as I said, we have students from all 50 states and over 70 countries from around the world. But not only students, also the faculty at HPU is truly international. Just to give you an example, at the Faculty of Business, at the College of Business, more than 50% of the teachers actually come from abroad. So you could feel that international vibe with your classmates, but also with the faculty, as well as, as I said, by living in Hawaii. And then I'll tell you more about the life in a minute. What else? HP also offers top-notch academics. We were voted the best university in the state of Hawaii in 2019. We really emphasize on hands-on education and small class sizes. So besides the robust academic programs, HP also puts an emphasis on the career-focused assignments, professional mentoring, and also connecting students with the real world. So there's something called continuous assessment. So every week you should expect to have some sort of a homework, either an assignment or a group work or a presentation. So there's really a focus on putting that knowledge into practice. Also, as we said, besides the experiential learning, you could expect small class sizes, which really help you to get to know the subjects that you're passionate about, but also be able to work well with other internationals or just in general to work with others. So if you're a bachelor student, if you're studying on bachelor's level, you could expect to be in a class with another 15 to max 30 students. And if you're a master's student, between 10 to max 15 students. So really, really small class sizes. So that also means that professors have enough time to give to each individual student, and you're expected to be very active in the classroom. You definitely get an extra point for participation. And I must say, even though you're in Hawaii, you must visit and must go to all the classes. At the end of the day, you're a student there, and it's obligatory that you attend all the lectures. So I hope I don't disappoint anyone today. And one last point, our professors are honestly so inspirational. They come both from the real working fields, so usually the field that they're teaching in, but also from academia. So there is a good variety of professors, and they bring that real world experience to the HPU classroom. This is an example of an environmental science class, just to show you that you're not just inside a class, you're also out there and you see it for yourself, and that's the best way to learn it. Oh, and a few more statistics. HPU was ranked #1 for safest colleges in Hawaii, and also the top college in Hawaii for value of scholarships and grants awarded. I don't have a specific slide per se because tuition and scholarship changes each year. So I do highly encourage you to get with Tom and our colleagues from Sonar to find more about what scholarship you could receive. But every student, especially students from Norway, get a scholarship. More about the study programs. HPU, as I said, offers a short-term study abroad for a semester or two, but also a full undergraduate and graduate degrees. So the full graduate degrees is normally 4 years, but you may be eligible for advanced standing credit from your Vietnamal. So again, get in touch with Sonar. They will be able to help you with the application to HPU. I have listed all of the undergraduate programs on this slide. Of course, we don't have time to go through each of them, but just to mention the most popular ones, definitely marine biology, top program, and also the business administration program, which has various specializations like hospitality and international business, etc. So all of those are listed on Sonar's website, so you could read more about it also in Norwegian. In terms of graduate program, or also called master's program in Europe, I have listed, it's a much smaller list, but I have them all listed on this slide. Again, not enough time to go through all of them, but normally they're between 1 year, 1 and 2 years, really depends on the degree. So for the undergraduate, I think my next slide, oh no, in a minute. And last, the most popular program, I must say, among Norwegian students is definitely the semester program, or also called the visiting student program. And you could do either 1 or 2 semesters. In that program, you could choose from over 400 different courses in 40 different programs. So the majority of those programs that we saw in the previous slides, they're just such a big variety, honestly. Some of the unique courses, though, at HPU is definitely the hula dance and the Hawaiian language course. They're only 1 credit, so I'm not sure you'll be able to get a credit back home. But if you're interested, you can definitely take that because it's so unique and so interesting, especially the hula dance. Just a quick snippet. If you're a bachelor student, you could expect to take 4 to 5 courses per semester, or 12 to 5 credits, American credits, which equates to 30 CTS. And if you're a graduate student or a master student, between 3 to 4 courses, 9 to 12 American credits, which again corresponds to the 30 CTS. We also welcome gap year students. I've seen a lot of our gap year students come from Norway. And in that case, let's say you've just finished your Vietnam, your high school, and you just want to try different courses, and you haven't really set your mind on one study program, that's definitely a possibility at Hawai'i Pacific University. You can mix and match as well. So let's say you have an interest in psychology and maybe an interest in business or marine biology, then you could definitely take different, all of those courses for the semester. This is the marine biology program, a picture of it. This is the Kaholo boat. So if you're doing a full degree, only for full degrees mainly, and in your final years, you get to experience that, that research, hands-on research on HPU's boat. But I'm moving forward. I hope I'm not running out of time. Tom, we're okay with the time? Perfect. More about the student life, the fun part. There's a bunch of things that you could do in your spare time. Some of the academic things that you could do. So if you're a high achieving student and you want to challenge yourself, you could apply for the residential honors program or the scholars program. And there is also a study abroad semester. So if you're doing a full bachelor's, through HPU, you could go through another country. So let's say a third country, especially our marine biology students, they like to come for a full degree and then maybe go for a study abroad semester in Australia. So you could definitely do that combination through us. In terms of working opportunities, as an international student, you're allowed to work for up to 20 hours on campus. So that's the main requirement. It has to be a job on campus and it has to be limited hours, of course. But also if you're doing a full degree, you can take part of an OPT, which is usually a 1-year practical experience that you could do after you finish your full bachelor's. If you've done any of the STEM programs, so science, technology, engineering, and maths, then you could do it up to 2-year or 3-year. I have to check on that. So that's a great opportunity through different working experience to connect with the local, national, or international business organizations that are related to your field. So it has to be a work that it relates to your study program. So that's more about the work opportunities. As every student, I can imagine you all want to, you also want to connect your studies to the real world. So that's definitely a possibility at HPU. But let's say you've applied and you're coming over. The first program, the first event that you take part in is the new student orientation. It's a 3-day program which allows you to connect to other international or local students or American students and really introduce you to the HPU campuses as well as the different classrooms and facilities that the campus has to offer. It's filled with different events. This is only one of the examples. So it's just such a fun way for you to get introduced to the place. But besides that, one of the fees, so right, we said at the start, you pay a fee for the bus pass. Another fee that you pay is to be part of different clubs and organizations on campus. So being a member of any of those events really allows you to learn more about the Hawaiian culture and traditions, but also some of those events are more academic, sorry, not events, but clubs and organizations. So let's say if you are studying international relations, there's an international relations club that you could take part in. So there's additional extracurricular activities and events that are organized by students. My favorite is definitely the Hawaii Spotlight. It helps you travel around different places around the island of Oahu and learn more about the culture and get to know how Hawaiian people actually live. I did that. We were actually taking out invasive weeds from taro plants. And taro is that beautiful purple, kind of like potato veg. So it's just such an interesting and such a cultural, really a cultural experience. And then last but not least, the island of Oahu offers a variety of events and festivals, so not just on campus, but also throughout the island. For sure, the one that I was most impressed by was the surfing competition up in the North Shore. That happens every year. The waves go up to like 30 meters. It's quite scary, to be honest, but it's such a beautiful and interesting and again, a cultural experience for to experience. There's also the Honolulu Festival, the Aloha Festival, the Waikiki's Palm Jam Festival. So really you get to listen to some of the Hawaiian music, try some of the traditional Hawaiian food and see the way people dress there and like just have so much respect and love for each other, for the community and also for nature. When it comes to housing, so besides the fun part, I would imagine, well, I'm pretty sure that's such an important part as well. So as we said at the start, HP offers on-campus housing, both at the Aloha Tower Marketplace, but also up in the Hawaii Loa campus. The Waterfront Lofts, this is the name of the on-campus housing at ATM. They offer a variety of rooms, so you could live in a single, double, triple, or quadruple room type occupancy, as you could see the one over here. And there's like a shared kitchenette, a living area, and bathrooms and toilets. A few of the Norwegian students, especially who come for a full degree, they prefer to live on campus. Because it's a great way to make friends, but also it's so handy to go to the classroom. It's like 5-minute walk, even less than 5-minute walk. So even if you oversleep your alarm, you shouldn't be worried. And lastly, there is a caring residential staff members. So you're really taken care of when you live on campus. Please bear in mind that if you live on campus, you're obliged to purchase a meal plan. More about the meal plans and the cost of it, you can find again at Sonar's website, just to give you an idea of the cost. But this is the kitchen. This is the dining area. There is a chef who cooks every day. And there is also like a salad corner, a traditional Hawaiian food corner, the traditional poke, which is a must try when you're there. And then drinks, etc. So even, as I said at the start, even if you don't live on campus, you are still, you can still dine on campus. And it's usually between $10-15 for a meal. It's a buffet type, so it's all you care to eat. It's not all you can eat. So yeah, it's really good and always fresh. But the fact that Hawai'i Pacific University is right in the city center of Honolulu means an easy access to a lot of restaurants and cafes. So you could find even cheaper meals, like takeaway meals for like $6-7 up to like $12-15. Such a big variety. You could choose from like Asian influenced food to like more like Mexican or like the typical burgers. So yeah, a very big variety of options. I'm not going to go much into the admissions requirements because that will really depend from student to student. But what I meant to say earlier is that if you're applying for a bachelor's, all we need to see is your Vietnamese, so you don't even have to do an English language test. If you're applying for a graduate or a master's degree in this case, there are more stricter requirements. So please do check on that. HPU runs on rolling admissions, which means there are no set deadlines. However, I do recommend that you apply at least 2 months in advance so you have an adequate time to get your visas, look for housing, etc. And for anyone who is an athletic, I know we have a few Norwegian students who are playing a professional level. HPU is competing on NCAA Division 2, which means that there are additional scholarships offered within the athletics teams. So if you are playing any of those sports on a professional level, you may be eligible to be part of the team. That's the HPU Sharks, so do check them out. There is also a scholarship for dance and cheerleading, as well as esports. I know it might sound strange, but if any of you today are esports enthusiasts, you may be eligible for a scholarship. And last, there, like I said, more scholarships. These are talent scholarships. So if you're playing like in a band, or you're singing in an orchestra or choir, or you're writing for a newspaper, they're additional. They're very small scholarships, but it's great to know that they exist. And these are the main things. When do we start? So the fall semester starts in August and the spring semester in January. So that fits perfectly with the academic calendars that you have in Norway. And just a few last points. HPU was one of the few institutions that reopened for in-person teaching during the COVID-19 pandemic. And despite the pandemic, students were still able to come over, and majority of those students were actually Norwegian students. So it's safe, it's socially distanced, it's sanitized environment. We haven't had that many cases, I guess, because it was an island. It was very easy to isolate at the start. So yeah, we're still welcoming students for the spring 2022 semester. So that's in a nutshell. Thank you so much for listening. I hope I didn't go too much over time, and I'm so looking forward to get your questions next. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that, Mihela. That was brilliant. I'll just follow up on a few things that you mentioned. So you mentioned ANSA, which is the Association of Norwegian Students Abroad. So they have a big there are Norwegian students who have decided to organize themselves. So they work politically towards the government in Norway to get better funding for international students and stuff like that. But most importantly for you guys, if you decide to go to places like HPU, for example, is that you have that network of people that you can meet if you feel a little bit homesick. Especially for me, when I studied abroad during and Norway Day was approaching, so 17th of May, it was great to meet fellow Norwegians and eat some waffles and do some traditional children's games and stuff like that. So that's totally something you can do.
Absolutely. So I can confirm that's organized in Hawaii as well each year for the Norwegian Day, and more events than just that.
Yeah, more events than just that. But usually the homesickness tends to creep up on you when Norway Day is approaching, and also with regards to specifically a bit about the funding and everything like that has to do with money at HPU. Most of the students that apply through Study Outside Norway, they receive a quite generous scholarship from HPU, which makes it possible to finance all of the studies through Lånekassen. When it comes to living costs and stuff like that, I would say that if you want to have a little bit extra, you want to if you want to live by yourself, you want to have a little bit extra, go out eating maybe a couple of times a week, and do a bit of traveling, I usually recommend that you save up about 50,000 Norwegian extra. But if you're happy to live with a roommate and stuff like that, of course, that cost is brought down, so you don't have to save up as much money. And that money you could either save up during a summer job. So, for example, if you go back to Norway to work during summer months, or if you get a part-time job at HBU as well, that could also contribute towards that. And when I say 50,000, I would say that's quite generous. That means you have you can live a bit flamboyant, if that makes sense. But of course, if you live, if you're not living too fancy, it's possible to live on the support that you get from Lånekassen. And yes, my recommendation is between 30 and 50,000 Norwegian extra per year you're studying.
Exactly.
Also.
Just if I can add on that point, because that's such a good point. I absolutely agree with everything that you said up until now. And exactly, so our Norwegian students usually have the best, most luxurious life compared to other international students. So the amazing Lånekassen that you have, not every other international students have. So as Tom said, if you have extras, that just gives you just more fun, right? Like being maybe able to buy a car. A lot of our Norwegian students even buy cars, or like fly to the neighboring islands, or like you said, go out and eat in a restaurant. So sorry for interrupting, but I totally
no worries. And the way that the academic calendar works as well, it means that you actually have quite a bit of time off, especially during the summer months. So it is possible to, for example, go back home to Norway, work a couple of weeks, or like 2 months, and then go back to Hawaii. And with the money that you've saved up, maybe you're living with your parents when you're back home, you have a summer job. It's definitely possible to earn and save that kind of money, so you can focus on the academic stuff when it's term time, and then you can focus on working when it's not term time. So you can really nail in those straight A's at HBU. The other point I also would like to make is that in order to get the funding from Lånekassen, you have to take 15 credits per semester. So yeah, that's just a requirement from Lånekassen. So if you're not studying with support from Lånekassen, you're free to do what you want. But if you want the funding from Lånekassen, you have to take at least 15 credits. But when you're registering for classes and stuff at HBU, they'll help you up with that. I think that's sort of just a small things I wanted to mention.
The other point that you mentioned about the 15 credits, and also if you're doing just a semester or 2 semesters, they can be 1,000 level courses, right? For the Lånekassen, that's another requirement. So just be aware of that, and Sonar will help you once you start applying. So just get in touch.
So we have some questions about which subjects are mandatory in first and second year. Is it possible not to have to take some of them and then graduate in 3 years?
Yeah, that's such a tough question because it's really case by case. We did have students in the past who were able to do that, but it really depends on what subjects you've taken in high school and what program you're taking at the HPU. So normally what happens is once you apply, then there is a transfer team within HPU that look at your Vitnemal and look at your program and sees what credits can be transferred. So yeah, you are definitely eligible for advanced standing credits. But how many, there's no guarantee. So we can't guarantee as we speak now. But once we see your transcripts, it will be easier to determine that.
Yeah. So, yeah. I hope that answers your... it's a brilliant question, Matilda, and I hope that answered your question.
So more specific, but again, the best thing would be just apply. So the application fee is waived for next term, for spring 2022. Hopefully next year as well. I'm not 100% sure. So you could just apply, and if you decide not to come, then there is no financial obligations on your side.
Yeah. So it's hard to say how many credits you'll get it or if you'll get any. But like we said, it's a case by case. It's decided on case by case. Do we have any more questions? I'll give you guys a couple of minutes to think of some. Another one from Matilda. How do the internship programs work? Are they like a paid exchange year or are they summer programs?
Yeah, so internships, so not every program at HP offers an internship. So some do, they have a part of the program. For example, the International Business Program has an internship. But what I was mentioning earlier, it's called OPT or optional practical training, sorry. And that every student is eligible for that. Every degree seeking student. So if you're doing your full bachelor's, then you could do an OPT. And it varies. So if you do a business program, it's only 1 year. If you do a science program, then it's longer than 1 year. So how it works, it's right after your studies. We have a career development center that helps you with finding a job, but you could also look for one yourself. So you have the support, but you also have the freedom to choose something that you like.
Yes. Another question here from Oliver. How long is a Norwegian driver's license valid for in Hawaii?
Oh, for how long?
I just quickly Googled that question while you were talking, Miela, and I think it's 1 year, but it can be as many as 3 years. But if you have any, if that's something you want us to help you figure out, Oliver, I suggest you email me after the webinar, or if you're already in contact with a student counselor outside Norway, you contact your student counselor directly, and they'll be able to help you find that answer. But I think it's 1 year.
Yeah, and we're organizing, so I think sometime in November, I did that last year as well. I'm organizing it again this year with current students from Norway. Oh, it was just such a good webinar. We had, I think, close to 70, 80 people on it. And we had a group of visiting students or semester students who just shared their experience about life in Hawaii from the Norwegian perspective. So if you're in touch with Study Outside Norway, they can send you an invitation for that. So please do get in touch. Thank you for all those questions. They're really good.
Agreed. I'll give you guys 1 or 2 more minutes to think of any questions that you might have.
Yes, 100% yes. About 90%, I can even say 99% of students tend to live off campus because it's a bit cheaper, and especially if you're sharing with friends. We had some Norwegian students, actually the ones that we did the webinar with last year. They had like a rooftop apartment overseeing the Pacific, and each of them were paying like $600, $700, which is quite cheap for Hawaii. I normally recommend to have at least $1,000 for housing alone, just to be on the safe side.
Yeah, so there is usually a Viking house or Viking apartment. I think as well. I see from like previous experience that they're like some Norwegians bunched together to form a Viking companionship. I think so. But yeah, it's definitely possible to live off campus.
And one thing, don't be scared if you can't find housing from home. A lot of students also travel over to Honolulu, stay in a hostel or Airbnb for the first week or 2 or 3 while they're looking for a place. So it's just it's a common practice that you go to the housing estate, and then most of the times, that's where they post, any lettings. So that's also a practice. And also, if you don't know anyone and you're going by yourself, it's a good way to go and meet other international students who are also looking for a place and maybe find something together.
Absolutely.
And one last thing, there's also a Facebook group. So once you're admitted, you're added to the same Facebook group. So that's also a good way to meet other international students.
Perfect. So I don't think we have any more questions, and we're about running out of time, Mihaela. So I would like to finish off by thanking everyone who logged on. Hopefully, we've made it a bit easier for you to step into the unknown, and hopefully, this webinar provided you with the information that you needed in order to apply to HPU. Like I mentioned before, me and the rest of the Sonar crew are happy to help you out with applications and also with questions with relations to money matters, so lånekassen applications, visa applications, help you get in contact with other students who are traveling to HBU, and stuff like that. And like Mihaela said as well, for the next start, it's also free to apply, and it's also free to get the application aid from Study Outside Norway. So you have nothing to. I would say you have nothing to lose to contact us. So on that note, thank you as well, Mihaela, for taking some time out of your day to show us what an amazing place Hawaii and HBU is.
Thank you so much, Tom, for hosting, and thank you everyone for joining.
Yeah.
I hope to see you in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.